New York City had two of the most popular MCs in the early 2000s, Nas and CamRon. While many were hoping that they would perhaps join their talents into possibly collaborating, they got into a nasty but somewhat forgotten beef in the modern day. CamRon was introduced to the rap scene in the middle of the 90s when he was a member of the group Children of the Corn, alongside his cousin Mace and Big L. After his cousin tragically died, Cam was introduced to Notorious B.I.G. and got a good first impression, so he was signed to Entertainment label. Cam's first album, Confessions of Fire, would come in 1998, quickly becoming gold, and had two successful tracks among others such as 357 and Horse and Carriage. In just 2 years' time, CamRon released his next album, SDE, which was more successful than the first, reaching number 2 on the hip-hop albums charts and number 14 on the Billboard 200. The real deal was his third album that was released in 2002, Come Home With Me, with many guest features such as Memphis Bleek, Jay-Z, and Beanie Sigel, more of the Rockefeller crew. And the album would go platinum and gave a push for CamRon's group, the Diplomats. When you hear Nas's name, the only beef, or the main beef we should say, that comes to mind is the legendary feud with Jay-Z. While being entangled in the diss war with Jay-Z, the minute Nas released Ether, he got himself into another beef that basically came out of the blue. Long before the beef between Nas and CamRon started, they were just roaming the streets in New York peacefully, not knowing much about each other than, that this guy's a rapper. Both of them were rolling in different crews though, without any common friends. If they were in the same place, perhaps they could have been close. What's more though is that CamRon was actually a big fan of Nas's work, which shouldn't be any surprise to a rapper that came up in the 90s. Everything started in 2002. Nas dropped Ether and was not welcome to perform at Summer Jam, which was organized by Hot 97. Nas felt disrespected not only by the fact that he couldn't perform, but additionally by the fact that CamRon, who was rolling with Jay-Z's Rockefeller Records, took Nas's place in the show. Consequently, people who were waiting for Nas to perform at Summer Jam were displeased seeing CamRon rapping instead. They were shouting that they wanted Nas to rap, but it just wasn't going to happen. So Nas decided to take the matter into his own hands and then went on the biggest rival of Hot 97's radio station, New York's Power 105, saying, "They conspired together to make sure I wasn't dissing any other rappers, but for some reason they promote other rappers dissing Nas every time. I just want to figure out what's happening with that. I want to prevent that from happening with any artist in the future, not to be exploited or put in slavery by any radio station or anything for that matter. This is supposed to be our freedom of speech, our time to voice our word to the world. And they're giving us limitations. Well, giving me limitations. Because it seems like every time you turn on that station, it's a new rapper talking about me, and they promoting it like it's the best thing since sliced bread." In the continuation of the rant, Nas said a few things about CamRon, specifically his performance on Summer Jam and his latest album, Come Home With Me.
If you listen to 90% of the rappers, they're not even creative. If I buy these people albums and they ain't talking about nothing from Cam to everybody. I mean, I like Cam and everything. He's a good lyricist, but the album's whack, man. You know what I'm saying? Y'all brothers got to start rapping about something that's real, man.
The next day, Hot 97 said that it wasn't that they had any issues with Nas performing Ether, but it was too much to continue mocking Jay-Z, especially by lynching his doll on stage. To which Nas answered, "What I was about to do was no different than what Eminem would do on stage when he brings out dolls of Britney Spears, of his own mom's, or what Dre did when he had a lawsuit against Michigan for them not allowing him to express himself." Right after CamRon got the information that Nas dissed him in his rant, Cam got to the studio and recorded a comeback, rapping over Hate Me Now, which was Nas's track. In his diss, not only does he mention Nas's daughter, her mom, and Nas's mom, who had just died, but he also threatened that his daughter should have been aware of R. Kelly. Much later, CamRon was asked why he crossed a certain line with that diss, and he said, "I'm a real big Nas fan. What happened was Nas just dissed me for no reason. It was a really tough decision to make, but dang, man, what did he diss us for? We didn't even do nothing to him." He's more mad at Hot 97. At that particular era, it was like, look, this is Nas. We can't just do one song because he could come back with another song and kind of kill everything. You know what I'm saying? So let's just bombard the situation. That was the only way we felt that we could handle it because Nas was such a legend at that particular time. I mean, at the particular time, I probably didn't think that. There's some things that I found out about afterward that I probably wouldn't have said if I knew. Do I regret it? Yeah, because I didn't want to go that far. But at that particular time in my mindset, and the dude was running around with, they didn't give a damn. That was why the whole crew that was running with CamRon released more than one diss that was aimed at Nas. But there's one more reason why Cam felt he had to cross a certain line with that track. He and his homies saw a great opportunity and decided to get straight to the point. While Nas didn't shoot a diss straight away in the direction of CamRon, he said a few things. To talk about people's moms and daughters, that's how you reach down and try to hurt somebody's feelings. He's lost. He's looking for a way to sell records, but he doesn't understand that he's getting used by Hot 97 for ratings and to speak up for Funkmaster Flex, who don't care about nobody except for himself. They got a dummy to be a dummy and go up on the radio and speak out against me. It's unfortunate because they're using CamRon, and he's not even a part of my fight. My fight is against any power structure that's going to try to hold the freedom of speech, and that fight is not over yet. Also, he sent a word to Millennium Thug, who was the youngest member of Nas's Bravehearts crew, to respond. Millennium Thug released a diss track, Write Your Name, in which he claimed that CamRon had AIDS, and he said a few ugly things about CamRon's right-hand man, Jim Jones. After the record was released and the word got to CamRon and his boys, they felt that they needed to clear the name and release the mixtape Diplomats Volume 3. The tape started with Cam talking greasy about people he had beef with. While many people from Cam's crew said what they wanted to, Jim Jones felt that he could invest a lot of time and words into the beef. So he did by releasing a couple of freestyle tracks, one after the other. At the beginning of spring 2003, the Diplomats released their debut album Diplomatic Immunity via Rockefeller Records, the Island Def Jam Music Group, and Diplomatic Records. From the day of the release, the album got to number 8 on the Billboard 200, selling 92,000 the first week. A bit later, it would go gold, but the album had something special on it. The rant, I Really Mean It. The track was a sign that the beef involved not only individuals such as Nas and Cam, but also their crews, Dipset and Bravehearts. At the end of 2003, Nas released his God's Son album, which had a track called Zone Out that was recorded with Bravehearts and had some shots fired at CamRon. But there was no feedback from Cam, and the beef started to just quell and calm down with no more diss tracks going in either direction. There was some more tension going around till the moment when Nas and Cam met at the airport in 2014. It was relatively normal, and although their talk didn't last more than 2 minutes, it was clear that the feud was in the past. Up to 3 decades ago, it was pretty normal to resolve issues that started with rap beef because it was more of verbal sparring, test of wit and competition rather than calling names and denigrating people's family, although that is what CamRon took shots at. But after the 90s, and especially now, beefs became a lot more personal, with clear hints to destroy people's music careers, and I would say they're a lot more violent than personal. People did take personal disses, people did come after family members in the 90s, but now it's almost a matter of violence and seeing somebody as opposed to releasing diss tracks. But fortunately, in Nas and CamRon's case, 2 New York legends, it was a positive that their beef kind of just fizzled out, as opposed to any moment that maybe they couldn't go back on and ever become friends if it had gotten to that point.